Right, welcome to Inside Ball, special edition again. We've got Todd Carney joining us. Todd, let's talk about your story. You grew up in Goulburn, New South Wales. What's it, about an hour or hour and a half from Canberra?
Yeah, about an hour from Canberra.
Yeah. And how was your upbringing, mate? Was it tough? Was it easy? You got brothers and
two older sisters.
Yeah.
And then my mum's sister's son, Robbie Pooley. Or Robbie, he lived with us, so he was like an older brother.
Right. So how much older is he than you?
He's 6 years older than me.
Right. So he'd been a big good old brother.
He played footy, went to Dixon College, was sort of in the Raiders juniors. So I had, so to say, I had a big brother from those ages, from early on. So Robbie moved in with us when I was 6. So he was a little bit older, obviously. So I had a big brother or someone to look up to in that way. But I had 2 older sisters. That sort of made it. But I was the favourite.
Were you? You're the golden child.
Yeah, my mum says the day I was born, my dad's life changed because he got a son. And he says we got a halfback.
You knew straight away.
He said it to the doctor, mum reckons.
Right.
And he goes, I finally got a halfback.
Oh, cool.
I don't know.
Did your dad play footy?
Yeah, Dad played footy. He was quite known, grew up in Goulburn, played like in that.
What's the group down there? What is it?
So he played, I said, like Don Furner Senior, used to play against the Queanbeyan Blues.
Yeah.
Played country and stuff.
Okay.
He was a bit
New South Wales country.
Yeah, down that way.
Yeah, right.
He's a bit of a tough nut, Dad.
What was he a halfback too, or
halfback?
Right.
Yeah. So
cheeky little halfbacks, eh?
Yeah. So like they talk about stories in behind like the Tomaru Dominicus days. He was at West, and Dad got an opportunity to go to West, I think it was.
Right.
And just chose not to. Yeah. Chose to stay at home and be around his family. See, Dad had a big family. He's got 5 brothers and 2 sisters. So he's, but I had a really good upbringing. Like I said, I had my 2 older sisters that took a back seat when I was born.
Yeah. Were they okay with that, or were they getting shitty?
They were good. One of my sisters played a bit of netball till high school. But I had a really good childhood, Kevie.
Yeah.
It's like, from all my memories as a kid, we had everything.
Yeah.
Mum and Dad worked hard. Dad was a tough man.
Yeah.
We grew up on 100 acres outside of Goulburn, Boxers Creek. My pop was always there, so I had a really good relationship with my pop. He was my sort of safe space when Dad got the shit. So I'd always just hide behind Pop, because Pop would always, even like when I was younger playing, Pop said to me one day when I was down there, and I said to Pop, I don't want to play anymore. I'm sick of it.
Really?
And he goes, oh, don't tell your dad that. He goes, let me tell him. And we're sitting around. I can remember sitting around, and my nan would always make us dippy eggs and a cup of tea. And we're sitting there, and Pop goes, oh, the young fella wants to tell you something. And I said, I'm not going to play this year. And he goes, bullshit, wake up yourself. And then
so how old were you, Todd?
I would have been about 11.
11?
And then I remember he walked off, and Pop goes, no, listen to him out. And he goes, I'm going. And then I think I might have misplayed not one game or something. Then I wanted to do it anyway. But Pop was pretty good like that. He knew when to sort of chime in. But yeah, we like I said, we had everything that we needed.
Yeah. Did you like going to school and stuff? Fine.
School wasn't great for me.
Yeah.
I repeated year 6, so I started school young, and then got to year 6 and repeated, which was good because I was playing at age up with the kids I was in school with. And then at that stage, I decided to go back. But for me, I always knew I wanted to make it. I was driven to make it. I wasn't great in school. I got through probably by looking over my shoulder at blokes' tests.
We've all done that, mate.
What I was always, Kevie, is that it's a weird one. Even my missus, when I write real neat. Right. Like if I started doing this, like something on paper and it wasn't right, I'd rip it out. And Mum reckons she's like, it was just had that knack.
Love perfection, eh?
Love perfection. Yeah. And then when the opportunity to leave school to go to Canberra, I was going to go to either Dixon or Erindale College at the time. But then when Maddie Elliott called me and asked me to leave school, the decision was easy for me. Yeah. So you didn't finish year 12? No, I didn't finish year 12. Went full time, and that was an easy decision. But school for me, it wasn't for me. And I guess it was just because I was always focused on that one thing to play league.
Your dad was pretty tough on you, when he used to, with your training.
Yeah, he was a bit of a rough nut. He he was a street fighter also. He had a few fights in. He brought us up quite tough. Made me work hard.
Yeah.
One thing that I took into my life, and I say to my young fella and my stepdaughter, and to anyone I speak to, young kids, is you got to work hard.
Yeah.
And he instilled that in me. He started me. Obviously, he was my coach, and then he done some stuff at the Junior Raiders, and it was actually 1 year. He was coaching a younger age at Raiders, and I was not. So he knew all the programs that we're getting from when we're off. Right. So there was no family holidays without training.
No.
I'd always take a mate with me on a holiday, and
a footy.
Would be down the oval footy. It'd be Brian Protein and
really?
Making me work hard, which is, I guess, what in the end. Like, while I was talented, I worked hard. Like, we had a really good team in Goulburn. We didn't get beat from under 8s right through to under 15s.
Righto. Any other boys in that team that
a few went on to make us. Dane Weston played at
Parramatta?
Penrith, Melbourne, and Cronulla.
Right.
And a few sort of went in between, but not many of them. That was sort of Dad's drive to continue to push me to do it.
You're a Raiders fan growing up?
Massive Raiders fan, Kevie.
Yeah.
I remember watching the 91 grand final, I think it was, sitting there, and there's a video. I'll try and find it one day and chuck it on a podcast. Is that I was sitting there with my cousin, I was tapping her going, I'm going to play for them one day. and that was me. Like, I was that passionate about playing for the Raiders that if I played one game, I was happy.
Yeah, right. Well, you played more than one game.
Yeah.
Which is great. So how was it as a 17-year-old sitting in there with the Raiders? Like, it's got to be a dream. Like, you got to pinch yourself, haven't you? Like,
oh, mate, it was... Even like when I think back and now, and because I work at Keebra Park with these young kids that are 16, 17, 18 years old, and I look at some of them and go like,
yeah,
what? This was me, but I was sitting, I remember the first day I walked in and there was Jason Croker, which I knew from family, but not enough to go over and just sit next to him. So I remember I walked in and my locker was the first. Well, lockers back then, they weren't like that. Now it's just like a little box and then you lift it up.
Yeah.
I had one pair of boots, rolled with me one pair of boots, me runners on, and I just sat down. I looked around. I remember just sitting there and they were handing out gear. And I remember looking around the room. There was like Ruben Wiki, Jason Croker, Luke DeVico, Ryan O'Hara. Mate, the list goes on of players, Michael Hodgson. And I was just like, I remember when we first went out to the session, I was like, I don't belong here. This isn't me. Like, yeah. And it was like, it was scary.
Who was the coach then?
Matty Elliott.
Matty.
Yeah,
okay.
Matty Elliott. And I remember him always saying to me, just stick at it. You belong here. You'll take your time to feel it, but just do what you've been doing in the juniors and train how you do, and you'll earn the respect of the boys. And it was a tough, back then it was, as you would know, Kevie, it was a tough environment to...
Well, especially if you're a young kid coming in, you know.
Yeah, because when now it's sort of... You let kids come in and that's them. Where back then you have to earn your stripes a little bit. Right. I had some crazy hairstyles and I always used to do my hair. So I was living at the Institute of Sport at the time. I used to come down and my hair always done and like they always, training you don't have to do your hair.
Yeah.
And it was actually one day Ruben Wiki stuck up for me. He goes, he's been getting into me about this every day. He hasn't changed. Just leave him to what he wants to do.
So
that's him. That's him. Like I continue to do it because I guess it's something I always probably learnt from Dad. I used to hate Dad brushing my hair as a kid. He used to slick it back, and I'd do it to my young fella now.
Because you used to have the mohawk and
the mohawk, I had the blonde, and all different. I've had some crazy ones, Kevie.
Yeah. But kudos to you for sticking up for yourself and. That peer group pressure, and I've been involved in it both as a young player and then a senior player, of that's not what we do around here, get rid of it sort of thing, you know, but you stuck to your guns. And
yeah, I think it's just what I knew. I was always comfortable with him myself, but in that environment I was also, there's like anything, it's not self-doubt, it's if you belong there. Yeah. And as a 16, 17-year-old, I was like, well, this is a dream come true. Like there's some blokes in this room that I would have said in the backyard who I wanted to be, like running around kicking the footy not so long before, going, I'm Jason Croker in the backyard watching him play and then pretending to be him in your own backyard.
Yeah, crazy.
And then all of a sudden you're rubbing shoulders with him trying to wrestle him.
Yeah. Unbelievable. 04, you made your debut. How was that? You remember your debut?
Yeah, I remember debut against the Bulldogs in 04. I come off the bench that night. Come on, played pretty well. I had an opportunity to win the game. The kick didn't come off, but I remember it. Big memory of obviously coming up against Willie Mason.
Right.
So in the 03 pre-season, I played a trial against the Bulldogs in Coffs Harbour.
Yeah.
And played in the centres, actually marked Willie Talau.
Right.
And that was just obviously Matty giving me an opportunity to play footy.
Yep.
The debut was, it was obviously a special one for me. It was a big part of, like I said, growing up, I wanted to play for the Raiders. So I got, but like anything, you want more. I got 4 games that year. And Matty sort of said to me along the way, I'm going to sort of drip feed you into it so you are ready to, and when you do actually become a consistent first grader, you understand where you've got to get to. Yep. My debut was unbelievable. I still remember it to this day, running out there when I first got tapped to go on and looking up and Willie Mason's coming at me, fucking carrying on.
Get your body in front and do your best.
That was the Dogs of War then, 04.
Well, they won the premiership that year,
didn't they?
Yeah,
right.
Oof. There you go. 06 was your breakout year. Talk to us a bit about 06 and why you got the confidence to feel like you belonged in the NRL.
Yeah, I think that's when it was. So I remember Matty always saying to me, so I played those few games in 04, then 05 I was in and out playing consistent. I never played any under 20s or nothing. I never played any of my ages, either NRL or reserve grade. Played New South Wales resident, so against Queensland at 17. I remember playing, always playing against men. And I remember one time I was playing, it was in the 05 season. I played really well, then Matty dropped me. And I had the shits. I went back to train and I trained against, it was a captain's run, so reserve grade against first grade, and I brained for, I pulled first grade team apart.
Yeah.
And I had the shits, and I said to Matty after, I says, why did I get dropped? And he goes, well, because you need to learn. You need to learn to actually know what it feels like to get better. And the way you train tonight is the way I want you to play every week in first grade. You just tore our first grade team apart. So then throughout, obviously you get better. But then 06, I just started to feel comfortable. I started to feel comfortable with myself and my body, understanding first grade, and then started to develop a running game, and just started to feel like I belonged there, which was the main part, I think, is the doubt and then the belonging of being there, and then starting to play some consistent footy.
Right, with the consistent footy and being in the first grade becomes more spotlight on you.
Yeah.
And you found yourself in a bit of trouble, did you?
Yeah, I did find myself in a bit of trouble in 06. And if I look back on it now, it's probably when my dad started to get early onset dementia, and I started to that stardom too of being in the spotlight at Canberra. I was the new kid on the block and experiencing alcohol. So from I didn't touch alcohol till I was not when you say it's 17, it's these days, kids drink whatever ages, but it was never really a part of me. So then I started obviously understand what it was, drink through success and obviously or whatever. So I had a few misdemeanors in 06, and that was a challenging time because at that time I didn't understand what I was doing wrong because I thought I was still
just a kid.
It was just a kid where if you obviously got to wake up at some point, but for me I just didn't click then.
Yeah.
And that's where the probably struggles coming through at that time, seeing these older guys. I remember my first trip away from it was just my initiation.
A footy trip away?
Yeah, the footy trip away was the crumb cutlet.
Oh.
I remember sitting there with Matty and Mark McClington come over to me and was sitting there and he goes, you having a beer today? And I'm like, nah. And he's like, why? I said, I don't know. I don't know if I'm allowed. This is that, and that's just how I was because that's what I would have had to ask my daddy if I was allowed a beer.
Yeah.
And he goes, I'll go ask Matty. And he went over to Matty. He said, are you allowed a beer today? He goes, yeah, if he's good enough to be in this room, he can have a beer.
Yeah.
I woke up the next morning, I had sand all over me, undies around my knees. Mark McLennan next to me, I had spew all over him.
Oh.
He had sand all over him, and I thought, oh, it must have just...
What happened?
Yeah, what happens? they took me outside in the sand pit, sprayed water all over me, and then rolled me in the sand pit. But then Marty, and to his word, stuck to what he said to Matt. He goes, "I'll look after him." Slept next to him, and I spewed all over him. Oh. So it probably wasn't a good mix. I should have knew that early. But yeah, 06 was the start of some not so pleasant headlines, Kevie.
Yeah, well, that's all right, though, mate. You did have a few of them, to be fair, over your career, but for different reasons. And you've well, we'll get to that later too. You've moved on from that now, haven't you? You've made some great decisions in the last sort of couple of years to get off alcohol altogether, haven't you?
Yeah. So I guess throughout, like you said, there was a fair few along the way, and a lot of them were all against me. Like, I didn't go out and physically hurt anyone. I didn't want to. I didn't go out there to cause drama. Like, it was just, they were big mistakes, and mistakes are on the back page. And as you said, yeah, Kevie, it's been nearly 2 and a bit years now. I've been sober through some life choices and changes that was probably the first time I had to make them for myself. Where when I was playing, it was easy to get caught up in if you play well. Well, the clubs push it aside. Like I remember, like you look back on it now and you think, oh, you get in trouble for drink driving, but we go out till 6 o'clock in the morning and all our cars are in the car park at an 8 o'clock recovery session.
Yeah.
We didn't sober up in 2 hours.
No.
But if you got caught, you had to cop the consequences. And that's a few of the things I've done, which was the early on days. But, yeah, I guess for me, I always had rugby league to bounce back to. When I got sacked from Canberra, I had the Dragons ready to sign me the next day. I got deregistered for the whole year, so I moved to Cairns, which was probably a blessing. It gave me some time to sort of understand what I'd lost. Yep. Leave the Roosters, have the Sharks sign me the next day.
So the club's gearing up to get you.
There was always clubs
you felt,
gearing.
even though if you did make a mistake, that there'd always be
there was no
tomorrow.
consequence for anything for me.
Yeah.
And the thing for me is that when people say consequence, I always go back to that money thing. It was never the money thing for me. The consequence was if I lost footy.
Yeah, what do I do next?
Yeah, what do I do next? So it was always that was the drive, was footy, not money.
Mm.
So then, yeah, later in life, and as people say, you should have realised when you get older. But for me, it was just that family, and then knowing that rugby league was sort of past me, that you can't choose your family.
No.
I had my wife now, and my young fella at the time walk out of my life, so to say. Well,
right.
She decided to leave me, which meant that we were 50-50 with my little fella. So when I had him, I was really good. When I didn't have him, I wasn't so great. And that started to take a toll on me. And I sort of weighed up the options, is either to decide to get actual help or go find someone else and find another family, but it just wasn't going. No. It was going to end the same way, because it would have just been the cycle of that, and it wouldn't have been fair on anyone or myself. So yeah, I did make some massive changes. So
while we're here, we might as well talk about it. You checked yourself in, did you?
Yeah. So it was on the 24th of February that I decided to give up alcohol. 2 years ago.
So had you had a big bender or the night before?
No, well, actually
3-day bender and then.
No, so I actually went for a beer with my old work colleagues on a Wednesday afternoon. And this is where what got me, because when I always think of what an alcoholic is someone that drinks every day and it's in the streets with a long neck stubby and whatever.
Wakes up with a paper bag and
and that's what I thought. But I was never that. I was a binge drinker, but as time went on, so I would never drink on a Wednesday night. It just wasn't me. But it was the week when I didn't have my young fella. He was with his mum, and I went with the work colleagues down for a beer of an afternoon.
Down the pub
on the way home. Had 4 beers and went home. They all went home. I decided to go back down to Woolies, get some stuff for dinner, walk past the bottle, I get some more drinks, and then just continue to drink that night.
Right, by yourself?
Yeah, by myself, and then went down the road and was playing the poker machines on my own, which was bizarre for me. And I just woke up the next morning and it was just like something that hit me that I'd always had thoughts of what it would be like. So I had 2010 season, didn't drink at all. I've done dry July in times. I've had 6 months off it when me and my missus had difficulties before this change. Like I said, I'd stay off it for a little bit and see the progress in those times. And then obviously with us splitting up and then not being around my son all the time, it was starting to become more and more in the thought pattern. Yeah. When I wake up hungover, I'd be like, oh, this is shit, I need to stop. Like, something needs to change. Like, it's put me in the position. But this morning was different. I physically couldn't get up to go to work. Every time I would have tried, and I usually brush my teeth in the shower, but this time my toothbrush was on the sink, and I had to brush my teeth, and I couldn't look myself in the mirror. So I went back down, sat on the bed, and rang Susie, and said, like, I think I need professional help. I'm gonna like make a change. She had heard it all before, so she was like, "Yeah, okay, whatever. Like, you're hungover, just get yourself right." Rang my sister, and we started making the phone calls, and checked myself in. So I went to a clinic in Gympie called Hayter Clinic.
Right. So you're living on the Gold Coast at this time?
Yeah, living on the Gold Coast this time. Heaps of people like sent me all different recommendations. And a lady, her name's Chantel, she's a psychologist, brain spotting she does. Like, does this different sort of... I spoke to her a couple of months before when she was on the Gold Coast, just to understand what her... part of her course is, and I rang her straight away when I was ringing all these different routes because they say, I thought you could just ring up and get in. Yeah,
no, you can't, eh?
And it was like, you had to go through the process of it, and then the more and more process I went through, I was like, oh, fuck, I don't want to do this. And then I agreed to go to one down near Byron, and I rang her and told her that I've been accepted at this place, and she goes, I'm going to be honest with you, I've only known you for a small amount of time. We caught up and went over like sort of my history. She said, it's not for you, that one. She goes, you need to go to one that you're secluded, you're away from everyone, that is quite hard ass. She goes, you need to try and get in this one. So that's where I reached out and got into Hayter Clinic. So I checked myself in. It was either 3 months or 30 days.
What'd you take?
Well, so I'd signed up. So a part of my private health, I could do the 28 days in a hospital section, and then you go for the next 2 months into the public, integrated the public sector, which was a lot bigger, but we still spent time with those. So I get into the 28-day one. Obviously, you got your 24-hour care. I detoxed before I got in, so I didn't have to go in and detox, and but I still had to be sort of secluded from a group, and there was a couple of us in there, met a few people. It was actually probably the lowest point for me. I remember it was a Sunday afternoon. I was watching while I was in the detox section, and I broke down, and there was a guy in the thing. He goes, what's wrong with you? And I said, I was watching the footy. The footy was on, and it just made me realise that how much I had sort of dropped. And he was like pretty supportive of it. At that point didn't know who I was, and then so I've done that whole 28-day section, and then
what job are you doing through the day?
So you get up in the morning. Or? No, so you get up in the morning. You do a check-in with a group. So there's how many people
sitting around?
Sitting around with your leader. So you check in and how you going. I remember one morning I checked in and I wasn't feeling great, and the guy was like, what's wrong? I said, I haven't spoke to my son. He goes, yeah, well, when you're on a bender, do you speak to him? Oh. And I said, no. And he goes, you've only been here 2 days. What's the difference? He goes, suck it up. So you check in, then you go to, like, you've got classes you have to go to, so you learn about obviously addiction, all the different things. There's different sort of breaks throughout the day. After the first 5 days, I started training every morning, and I got a group of people in there that
training with you.
Yeah, training with me. So I had a little community in there. Not so much free time. At night time, you'd go out of the facility to AA or NA, so like into the public,
right?
Which was a big wake up call to me, because at the end of the day, I was in there for a reason to get better. And I remember there was a guy in there. He was from the army. He'd been in and out of rehabs, and he was on the bus one day, and he took my hat off, and he goes, "You're not wearing this tonight in there." Yeah. And I went, "Why?" He goes, "Because you always try and hide under your hat." He goes, "Who cares? It doesn't matter who you are. Like, just go in there and he goes,
"Is that true?"
Yeah. I always put a hat on. He said, "It's night time. You don't need your hat on. Like, go in there." So I remember that night we went to a men's group, which was always a challenging one, and this was for NA, so narcotics. And there was a massive room full of people, and you had to put your hand up to share. And the guy that told me to take my hat off, he goes, "Need you to share tonight?" I'm like, So I did, and it was good. And then after
a lot of people in the room would have known.
A lot of people in the room, because I had to stand up, identify who I was, the reasons why I was there. Like, and then after it, it was the first time I felt at ease that I was getting help, because the guys in the room that come over and just said, like, now you've opened and actually let yourself surrender to it.
Yeah.
So in the end, I only done the 28 days. So my leader in there said that I needed to go out and experience life away from the rehab and do the things I was saying. As he said, he goes, you could be in here forever. It's not like you're that strong-willed and you want, like. Yeah. He goes, I remember from the first day you walked in, you said, I said to him, I'll be the two people in this room that stick at it and won't come back. And I had that drive from when I walked in there. So he said, from all my sort of the stuff I was writing, so we had to have like daily notes and stuff, and they were checking in on me. Everything I was saying, I needed to do in the public.
Right.
Not
it's
in
time
that
to
room.
open up the doors.
As you said, like
you're
training every morning, you're sticking to a diet.
You've got a good little routine in there.
You've got everything going. Like, life outside was not existent because you were in here feeling comfortable, so you need to get out and do it. And that was hard. So I had a plan, had to do an exit plan to get out of there. And he kept going back and forth, like tinkering with my exit plan. So I had to do 90 AA meetings in 90 days.
Right, every day?
Every day for 90 days when I got out. And I said to him, like, how am I going to do that? And he goes, well, you're going to have to make way to do it. Yeah. So I found what was comfortable with me to do it. And I found a group in Burleigh. It's called Early Birds at 6 a.m. So every morning at 6 a.m. I'd train before or after and go to that one. So it was definitely a challenge, Kevie, but looking back on it now, it definitely saved my life. I reckon I was going to.
Wow.
Well, I would never have harmed myself. I was going to the point of that.
Just doing something silly when you were.
Yeah, I reckon. I would have wrecked someone else's life on my own. I was wrecking my own anyway, but I reckon it was getting to the point where I was becoming that reckless that I probably wouldn't have. Fair to say, I wouldn't have been here, I reckon, if I continued to keep going down the path I was going. Not that it was that slippery of a slope for me. I just know where it was getting to because I would just become reckless in my own life when I didn't have my son around.
Yeah, right.
And then my partner, obviously. And fast forward that now, we're married and everything's really good.
That's amazing, mate. Like what you've been through there. But also, you had some tough things going on in your life, didn't you? When your dad passed away.
Yeah. So when Dad passed away, it's obviously when I look back on my life and when I dive deep and unpack the history of my drinking and the way it went on and things like that, it affected me a lot. And I didn't notice so much of it. So Susie would always bring it up. She goes, every time like I'd get real drunk and come home, she goes, you'd break down crying, saying that you wanted to be with your dad and things like that. And I didn't know. And then she filmed me once and showed me, and it was just like I was a completely different person.
Yeah.
So that was obviously a big challenge. And then obviously throughout, like getting sacked from Canberra, leaving the Roosters, same at Cronulla, and then all the headlines and stuff and the guilt and shame and stuff, but it never affected me. But it obviously was to the point where I was putting on a mask all the time and letting it sort of from the outside looking in. Oh, well, he looks fine. It's not affected him or like what's going on, but deep down it was, and it was just festering. And I think once footy had finished, that's when it started to fester.
Really hit home to
my values as a person, how I treated Susie, and just the reckless things in my life was like, well, I've been through all this stuff. What else is there?
Yeah.
Until I got through the other side. So looking back on it, there's been definitely challenges.
Yeah.
But I was prepared for those things, I reckon.
Ready to go.
Yeah.
Righto, now, back to the footy. 2010. What a year you had, mate.
Yeah.
Holy wow. Roosters.
Yeah.
Grand final, unfortunately beaten, but you just... Can you put it down to one single thing? You're always playing good, high-level football, but that was a breakout year for you, wasn't it? Like, you won the Dally M.
Yeah, got the Dally M.
Player of the Year, Dally M 5A of the Year. I think International Rugby League Player of the Year as well.
Lucky enough.
Played for Australia?
Played for Australia, yeah.
You didn't play for New South Wales that year. That was a bit later.
Played in Australia.
What clicked for you that year? What happened?
What'd you do? I was off the piss. That was one thing.
Right.
So I signed in 2009. I played in Atherton for the Atherton Roosters. So I had a year off the NRL.
They wouldn't let you play, would they?
Wasn't allowed, and then my visa got declined to go overseas. I'd signed a 4-year deal at Huddersfield Giants with Brownie.
Yep.
My bags were packed. Got a phone call from Richard Thulis, the guy, the president or the chairman over there. He's like, "Oh, your visa's been declined. You have to ring Brownie and let him know. We can fight it or whatever." And that stage it was a blessing because not long after, that's when Dad passed away.
Yeah.
So I didn't end up going to Super League. Decided to go to Atherton Roosters. Through that time, I was like, well, what's next for me? Roosters reached out to me to see if I'd be interested in signing. I had an option to go to either the Roosters or the Dragons. Met with Wayne.
Yeah, I was going to say Wayne.
At the time, Freddie was the coach at the Roosters, so I met with both them, met with Nick. And then obviously had the year in Atherton to work out
what you were going to do.
What I was going to do. So I spent that time away, obviously just choose the Roosters.
Why the Roosters?
Just Freddie was a big part of that.
Yeah.
I love the Roosters as a club. I love the direction they're going. When you look at it now, hindsight, if I went the Dragons and would have won a comp, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, Jamie Soward was
they beat us in the grand final. Yeah. And Jamie signs from Penrith to go to the Dragons instead of me.
Yeah. So you met with Wayne and had a chat with Wayne?
Yeah.
How'd you find him?
Mate, I was so nervous. I remember I drove to Wollongong from Goulburn and I brought Jared Croker in the car with me to Dave Riolo's house. And Riolo was my manager. And we walked in and Wayne we'd gone inside and then Wayne turned up and I didn't know what to do. And he made a joke.
Pretty intimidating, eh?
He was, but he made a joke as soon as we got there. So it was really cool. And at that point I sort of was unsure still. Decided on the Roosters just because obviously what they were talking about, Freddie, and where they were going.
Yeah.
Fast forward, Roosters moved Freddie on, and then Brian Smith becomes the coach. And I remember my first meeting with Smithy. I would have been 98 kilos, I reckon. I put on some weight in Atherton, and he's like, you need to work hard when you come here. This is what it's going to be about. And he goes, you'll be playing fullback.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? He goes, have you ever played there? I said, no, never. And he goes, well, that's what you'd be doing all pre-season. And I was like, straight away I thought, how am I going to crack it at fullback? Anthony Minicello's there. And then obviously Braith was the captain at 5'8" at the Roosters at the time. So Smithy was like, well, you're up against it wherever you go. So he goes, I feel watching you, he goes, I've watched heaps of your football at the back end at Canberra when you played outside Jason Smith. You played like a fullback
at the back,
you just swung everywhere. He goes, I think it would be really good for you, and you've been out of the game for a while. You'll learn a lot off Mitchell Pearce playing that style of footy, and it'll give you time to get back into the game. You've been out for a year now, so work your backside off, and that was a massive, obviously, trigger, and it was a focus point for me, is I have to work hard. Minnie helped me so much. Rowan Smith, Brian's son, helped me so much, just getting me prepared for that.
Yeah.
Had a misdemeanor in the off season in the New Year's 2009, going to 2010, and that's when Smithy called me and he goes like, we've all been like blessed to be at this club because Smithy come at the same time. He goes, you owe it to us and to everyone just to get off the piss, and heaps of us did that year, so that was a big part of it. But I think just that I've always looked back, if I set myself challenges, I prided myself on getting them.
Yeah.
And if I put a list in front of me of goals for that year, there was never going to be to win a Dally M, play for Australia, make a grand final. It was just to be consistent and to get back to where I knew I could be.
Yeah.
And then just footy started just becoming
Easy.
Not easy.
Easy.
But it was
I know the feeling.
It was like I remember in the trials, I didn't even go away for our main trial. I went to to give back to Atherton, we went to Atherton to play.
Oh, you played a game against them, yeah.
So I went up to Atherton, played fullback against them with sort of a reserve grade team, and then the other team that went somewhere else. So there was split trials.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm not even going to play round one here. But obviously I was
You're a long
looking
way
at it.
back.
Yeah, I was a long way back, and then I remember round one playing fullback against South. I was just like, well, I'm back here.
Yeah.
But it's
time to do something.
But I'm seeing it very differently. Like I feel way more comfortable. Like it's the game.
Like you felt like you belonged. Sort of
thing. And then as that year went on, I just started getting better. And then in the Charity Shield, I broke my ribs playing fullback, and then just kept needling them and playing. Then I played a bit of a sort of down period, and then Origin got picked, and Piercy got picked in Origin. And then Smithy goes to me, I'll move into the halves. Played so well, and I remember walking into his office, and I think you need to move me back to 5'8". And he goes, well, I was going to ask you that this week. Do you reckon you feel comfortable going back there? He goes, I just need to speak to Braith about playing back row, and we'll move you back there. But in the 2010 season, it was just everything fell in place.
Yeah, it's one of those years, eh?
But so did my life away from footy was obviously was a big part of like my diet change. I remember Minnie pushed us all into this like Whole Foods diet.
Yeah, he's got on the red meat and all that, didn't he?
Red meat, the unpastured, the bath milk, and we were living like obviously a clean lifestyle. That was everyone in the group, and he obviously individually, I was doing things that I'd never done before. But our team, we had a great group of players, great group of blokes. We all stuck together, and it just clicked that year.
Yeah, you enjoyed playing with Mitch?
Yeah, he taught me so much about footy, and I think when I left the Roosters, I thought I could play 7 just from what I'd learned
from him. Yeah,
went to the Sharks and was going to be 7. Me and Wade Graham were going to be in the halves, and we just butted heads because we were both headless chooks when it come to playing structure.
Right.
Because I was seeing shit that I thought I was meant to be doing, but I'm meant to be building a team's building a team structure, or getting us to position of the field. Then I'd see something down the short side and I'd take it, and they'd be like, "What are you doing, Tom?
What
are you doing? You're going away from the plan."
plan.
So that's when they brought Jeff Robson in. But for the things about Mitch is, I'm really close mates with him, and that's why we do our podcast together. But just his IQ of footy, the way he understands how much work he puts into it, and it's footy or nothing for Mitch. He's just so switched on.
Whereas you're a bit the opposite. You just want to get in and play.
Yeah.
You understand a bit about the opposition and how they defend. And
so it was good for me. He freed me up so much, and we had a sort of a connection that when we went to 5'8", like we even watching my highlights, me and him were on the couch the other week watching him. Just like the way we played was just the way we live our life too. It was just like in the moment and go get it. But then he had that steady head to then go back just into it and ship, then let me sort of float in and out.
I'm not pissing in your pocket, but your running game was very good. You're fast, weren't you?
Yeah.
Were you a junior sprint champion and all that stuff?
I was. I built that. I actually give that a lot of that to Roger Fabry, the speed coach at the Roosters at the time. And then later after that, I liked him that much. took him to the Sharks, and we've got a really close relationship. He worked so hard with me away from training on my speed. He was the speed coach at the Roosters, and so I was always fast, but
some of your tries and some of your line breaks.
2010, 11,
you look
and that I was fast. Yeah,
quick.
A yard pace faster than some of them.
So you could run. Your passing game was really good. Long pass, short pass.
Yeah,
and then you could kick.
Yeah,
kick the ball well. You're a goal kicker.
Yeah.
So you had all the bases covered to be that player of the year, didn't you? Really?
Yeah. I worked hard.
It wasn't a fluke.
Nah.
You know what I mean? People say, oh, well, you know, when players have good seasons and you got a bit lucky. Well, maybe you did get a bit lucky, but you got all those skills to be a great half, whether it's a 7, a 6, or even fullback. You know?
I think obviously that year, the individual awards and that is what overshadows obviously some things, like they say, luck. First year back in the NRL, it's a feel-good story and things like that. But all those things you said is that the things I worked on.
Yeah. Worked hard on your
I worked hard, and I don't play now. I finished up last year, but I still go down and kick the footy.
Yeah.
I've got a passion for...
Well, you're especially 40-20.
Yeah.
Field goals.
Yeah.
Mad goal kicker as well.
I love the big moments. I love, like any half, you pride yourself on stepping up in big moments, and you're sitting on the sideline and you're kicking, you say in your head 2 minutes on the clock, down by 2 and things like that. But yeah, it all comes back to, I guess, my childhood is that want to win and working hard at something, and the time I put in away from the actual hours of practice.
Of the game,
yeah.
What do you reckon your best position was, looking back on your career? Depending on the team, I suppose, and who you're playing with, or you think you're a genuine 7, genuine 6?
Nah, genuine 6.
Yeah.
I reckon in today's game I'd be a 6.
6.
Yeah.
Okay.
Even a 1. If I continued to play 1 and got better at it, through that year getting injured, PC playing Origin, and then moved into 6 and played really well. I think if I stayed at 1 and
could have made a go of it too.
Yeah, could have made a go of it, but it definitely a 6.
Yeah,
I was comfortable in 6.
It's a great position to play in it. You know, you can sort of swing everywhere and you can see stuff and just act on it. Whereas a halfback or the genuine 7 is a bit more structured. You know.
Yeah, I had the qualities to play 7, in the good pass, the good kick, the change of tempo, but I didn't have that. When I say I didn't have it, I struggled with the management of the game.
Yeah.
So knowing when to kick.
So you're a good talker?
Good talker, getting blokes around the park, but I just needed that calming influence. So that's when they brought in Jeff Robson for me.
Right, at Cronulla.
Obviously, he was a little bit older, but very similar. So they brought in Robbo to play like Piercy did for me at the Roosters and let me sort of... Because then you got a mutual respect that if I want to jump up and play, I can play footy.
Yeah.
Like even when I was at the Roosters playing halves with Piercy, I'd done a lot of the kicking. But he done all the managing of getting us to points in the field and then that steady head, or not steady head because he doesn't have a steady head, but he just knew when it was time to inject himself or inject me into a game.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a 6, Kevie.
Righto. That's good, mate. I love the 6.
Yeah.
I love the 6. Now, you left the Roosters and then you went to the Sharks. Now, you got in a bit of trouble at the Sharks too.
Yeah, been trouble everywhere, Kevie.
Yeah, the famous bubbler.
Yeah.
Was that something I read? Was that something that a few of you used to do after you won a game?
Yeah, well, I thought, you laugh about it now. It's Bryce Gibbs, I think, heaps. I've seen it a few times in different places, and we'd done it in the sheds after a game before, and it was just
unbelievable. That's not something, and I'm being honest with you, would ever cross my mind. And what are you, 39 or 39?
38,
38. So I've got a good distance on you, but it's just because I remember when that first happened, I thought, what is this bloke doing?
Yeah, I know.
But if it's something that you're all...
Yeah, it wasn't about all of us. It's probably... Yeah, it was stupid.
But it's just something you did behind closed doors, in-house, where it's a bit of fun for...
Yeah, and
and I read into your stuff, and my wife did as well, that Bear Grylls does it.
When he does it to survive.
He does it to survive.
Yeah, and someone actually said that to me when...
it's not a crime.
It's not a crime. And if I look back on it now, at the end of the day, you paid big money. You got to live up to the standards of being a professional athlete. And, and then obviously just the stupidity of it was the main part.
Pretty stupid. But who put you... Who took the photo?
There's just the guys out that night through a mate of a mate, and I don't know. To be fair, when I first found out about it, Riolo rang me and goes, "There's a photo going around. I'm going to send it to you." And I was like, "When was that?" Like I didn't even know when it was, and only because I had a split under my eye, I had to backtrack of when it was.
Right.
And everyone thought it was the night after we played Broncos here at Suncorp, and I'd brained them, and everyone thought it was the night out in Brisbane because I had the split in my eye still, but it was the week before.
Right.
So it happened at a shit time too, Kevie, because I was playing some really good football.
At Cronulla.
Yeah, and I had a lot of football ahead of me still. Obviously went overseas after that, but I was just starting to find my groove.
Yeah.
Like I was established there and felt comfortable. I had a good mix.
Coming into a senior player sort of role.
Yeah. Yeah. So it happened at a really shit time, but
it always does, mate.
It's one of those things that if it wasn't that, it was going to be something else that year. Because
do people still give you a shit about it now?
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I can laugh it off now. Like before, I'd get a little bit bitter about it and get the shits and stuff. But for me, I've got a pretty thick skin now because I'm living that life away.
So everywhere you go, not just that, there's other...
I actually feel funny when I go to the toilets, Kev. Yeah. I actually, if I go to the toilets and there's heaps of people, say when you go to the airport and there's obviously heaps of troughs at the airport. Even if there's like 4 open and there's the door where I can walk in.
Shouldn't be laughing. It's not funny, but you got to live that.
I walk in, I go into the cubicle and shut the door, and that's a little bit. It's not trauma because it doesn't affect me that much. Because if I needed to go and there was just one left, I would go into the cubicle and the trough, no problem. But if I can, I avoid it. I've been in many situations before. I've walked in the toilet. A couple of young fellas, hey, Carney, show us a bubbler, and I'm like, come on, boys, it's 10 years ago now.
Yeah,
and then turn around and then they're doing it themselves. I'm like,
I shouldn't be laughing.
But it was just a stupid thing, and I look back on it now, and well, I never harmed anyone. It's not a great look, and it wasn't a great look to finish my time here in Australia.
I'd agree with you there. Yeah, so that was it for you at the Sharks.
Yeah,
but you did play for Australia as well in 2012?
2010.
10.
Yeah, I went toured with the boys, so I was.
12 was Origin, wasn't it? Yeah,
12 was Origin.
Right, Ted. So you went on the kangaroo tour.
You went on the kangaroo tour.
How much fun!
I was an emu, and it was an
Nothing
interesting.
wrong with being an emu.
It was an interesting one, Kevie. So after the 2010 grand final, I had to be with the boys. Had Mad Monday. Got the phone call that I was picked, and I refocused myself after that week. So I had to pack my bags and stuff, and I'd planned to go on a holiday at that end of the year with Nate Miles. We're going to go to...
Great bloke, Natey.
Yeah, legend. I actually caught up with him yesterday. We were going away, and I was going to have a beer then, but in that next period I wasn't going to. They get a phone call that I was going away on tour.
Tim, who was the coach?
Sheens, he was coach.
Tim Sheens.
Get into camp. Obviously finished Mad Monday. Get into camp later that week. And obviously, Sheens informed me how I was going to do. He goes, you'll play against one of the lower tier teams.
Yeah. I got the same message, by the way, when I played for Australia.
Ended up playing against New Zealand, which I loved, but I was an emu for the trip. And I remember the first night, the boys were like, "Oh, you having a beer?" And I was like, "Oh, nah." And I didn't. And then, like, obviously, as the trip went on, I started, like, obviously got back into it. And, but yeah, the Four Nations, the tour was so good. It was like, I got an opportunity to be around all these players. Obviously, the year that I had left the game in 2009, to come back and then to cap it off with that, and then playing against New Zealand was a dream come true to play for Australia.
Yeah,
with the likes of players we played with.
Lockyer in that team.
Yeah, they were in the team.
Yeah.
we ended up getting beat in the final, actually. Right. I didn't play the final. I just played the one game. But, yeah, that was a special moment to do. Obviously, I would have liked to have played more.
Yeah.
But I had a fair list in front of it
through
also.
That period, and same without taking some of the people weren't alive when I was playing, but, there was so many great 5'8", wasn't there, through that period where it's hard to get even a jersey for New South Wales or Queensland because the dominant halves, But you end up playing for New South Wales.
2012 season.
Against that mighty Queensland team. How was that experience for you? Was that all you hoped?
Oh, it was, yeah. It was. Obviously, I would have liked to play more, and if I'd lived a different life, I probably would have, but that you can't do that. You can't change that now. But I did get the opportunity to Kevie, and it was special.
Yeah.
I remember my childhood growing up was obviously rugby league. And rugby league.
Yeah.
And part of that was Canberra Raiders and watching Origin. I remember every time Origin.
Did you have a favourite Origin player for New South Wales? Or
I loved Andrew Johns growing up.
Joey,
Yeah, I was lucky enough to play against Joey. I tried to model parts of my game off Joey. I'd done a lot of work with Matty at Raiders. Matty Johns used to come down. But just watching all those moments, I was a big fan of Gus Gould talking, Rab Warren's commentary. But just what Origin was about was that, like, I had a dream of doing it and then getting out there, and it didn't disappoint.
No.
Like, we played our first one in Melbourne. We get beat by 4 points, and then obviously
all the noise comes in.
All the noise comes in. Pearce and Carney aren't up to it. Go down to bring the game to Sydney. We win. I play way better the second game, and then we win that game by, I think it was 4. Then we go up to Suncorp. That's like, here we go. And then it all starts to come. Are we going to be the team to break this dynasty? Like, we had Tommy to come in and speak to us at Caxton Street. Like, just
the great Tom Rodriguez.
What the word is about was what was rugby league's about to me, was just being a part of a team that was going in as it was underdogs, but we were confident.
Yeah, and rightly so. You had a bloody good side.
Yeah, and then Cooper Cronk.
Field goal.
44-metre field goal.
Yeah, I remember it.
Yeah, but just some special times in that whole group, obviously, to play some of the players and the connections you grow from, as you know, Kevie. But just being a part of that arena, very similar to how I was starting at Canberra. I felt unsure if I'd belonged there. But like I said, I loved to have experienced it more because I knew I would have got better in that.
Yeah. So what happened the next year?
I got injured around the Origin time in 2013, and then they went with Maloney.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't play with Maloney, not a chance. Missed him, eh?
It was actually a funny story that I was at the Chooks. I left.
Oh, that's right.
He had 2 years there. He wins a comp. I leave Sharks. He leaves me, comes to the Sharks. They win 2 years after I leave. So I must plant a seed, and he comes and and gets the fruit.
You planted plenty of seeds because you're obviously a very good player. Played for New South Wales and Australia, and you played in a grand final at the Chooks. Looking back, is there a favourite from any of those games, favourite game or moment in your career that you think, wow, I'd love to relive that again?
Oh, you relive plenty of moments, and I do them in my dreams and when I'm in my quiet time, when you think back and remember. I remember, to take me back to my debut, Kevie, like I said, if I play one game for the Raiders and that's all I ever do, I'm a happy kid. I'm a happy person forever. And it's another moment going back to Canberra Stadium when I was playing for the Roosters.
Right.
Everything clicked that day. Take an intercept, run 100.
Oh, I think I saw that on your highlights.
Kick 2 40-20s, just absolutely turn it on. Was
that to whack it up the Raiders?
I think that was just me. I'm one of those people that I set myself a goal, and it's like climbing that mountain. But I felt throughout my career, I climbed the mountain and then always would fall off it. Just to try and climb the mountain again. It was like a sick feeling, I reckon, that I have to work hard. And that was probably just that hard work thing, but there's so many special ones. Obviously, the grand final, I'd love to relive it and change it.
What would you change, mate? apart from the score?
Yeah.
Was there moments
Just
in that?
my approach of the week, the approach to the way I played.
You think you're a bit conservative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just thought the moment got to us.
Well, that can happen, to everyone, you know. And that was your first grand final.
Yeah, it was my
you
first.
played a lot as a kid, but it's a different story, isn't it? Like, you know, from playing at Goulburn with your
Yeah. I think the Dragons...
But you won a under-20s grand final. I know a Jersey flag, or did you with the Raiders?
I played under 17s. Yeah, so we won a grand final in the juniors. So that was good. But if I relive that, I would have took the game on more.
On a bit more.
Yeah. I felt
how fast does it go? Like,
mate, it was just the moment was gone.
Well, you know, you're sitting there at half time and thinking, oh, half the game's gone. Shit. And if you're in front, well, it's great. If you're behind, well, you start to get a bit nervous, think, well, we better get our game on here. But yeah, go so far.
Looking at it is probably the end prize, what I was more focused on.
Yeah.
Of winning a grand final, other than what you needed to do to win it.
Yeah.
Is what I'll do again. If I had the opportunity again, I would focus on what it takes to win that game to get that end result. Where I was like anything, you focus on the vision of holding the trophy and what it's like the days after.
Yeah.
It was probably in the back of my mind, where if I focused on the present, how to actually get that moment. Haven't you done 6 of them, Kevie? So.
Yeah, well, I got lucky, mate, with some great teams, and it wasn't always, you know, smooth sailing, but yeah, it's just those big, whether it's even an NRL game, to get it right, you know, you've got to do a lot of things right, haven't you, to make it all happen. Who'd be your toughest opponent, you reckon, over that? You've come up against some good ones. Yeah,
there's always, obviously, when you think of tough opponents, you think of like the physical ones. I remember playing against Gal and Birdie early days when they were at Cronulla.
Yeah.
It was an ugly.
They were tough.
It was tough, yeah. Tough. GI. Always coming up against GI, hard to handle.
Yeah.
And then obviously Sowie for me, just because he beat us in that grand final, and I had some tussles with him in the juniors growing up too. Right. So yeah.
Are you mates?
Yeah, I know Sowie. Yeah, he's a good dude. But yeah, I think that
would have sucked losing that day.
Oh mate, it was horrible. It was horrible because we worked so hard.
Yeah.
And you sort of, when you, like I said, you look at grand finals and you think they're going to come again because this one come.
Well, you would have, because when you're in a good team and a good club like you had there, you know.
That's right.
You think, we'll be back next
year. We'll come again, yeah.
But it doesn't really happen sometimes. Righto. What about your stadium-wise? You played at some great stadiums around the world. What are you thinking? You like Suncorp?
Suncorp's good. I always played pretty good at Suncorp.
They give it to you there, the crowd? I hope they did.
They always did, especially around Origin time, but... I touched on it there before, Kevie. My last game for the Sharks was at Suncorp.
Right. Against the Bronx?
Against the Bronx, and I got man of the match.
Right.
That's why
I think that's on your clips as well, yeah.
Yeah, that's why I was...
Were you halfback or 5'8" that day?
Played 5'8".
5'8".
And that's why I think when I look back on the whole incident of the bubbler and how it went down is that I was building for something that year. Like, it's one of those moments for me is what if I finish that year for the club, where we finish. So Suncorp was always good to play. I loved playing at Bruce Stadium. Yeah. I loved playing at Amy Park.
Oh, down in Melbourne?
Yeah.
Did you have some good moments down there?
Yeah.
Yeah. That's just a tough stadium to play
at. The fast tracks. I love the fast tracks.
The Warriors, mate, from last week.
Oh, mate, what about that? I love playing on fast tracks.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Righto. So, and then you finished. You went overseas to the UK.
Yeah.
I spent some time at the Catalans.
Great
place to live.
Yeah, it was good. There? I enjoyed. If I look back on it now, I retired probably a little bit early. I went to the Catalans, done a couple of years there, but always had the focus of coming home.
To get back into the NRL?
Get back into the NRL. So I left Catalans, come back. Had a charity fight against Chrissy Sando. Was trying to sort of work my way into some clubs here. There was no windows opening. So
you got in a ring with. Hang on, sorry, I'm going to pull you up there. You got in a ring with Chrissy Sando.
Yeah.
How'd you go?
It was a draw. I had a draw with Chrissy, and I had a draw.
Did you punch the shit out of each other or not?
Yeah, it was all right. It was a lot of haymakers. Then I fought Princey a few years later.
Scotty Prince.
Yeah, we had another draw.
Right.
But yeah, when I was over in the Super League, I always wanted to come home and play and was working at that, and I'd always have phone calls with a manager. Like there was clubs interested, but there was just no green light to come back in.
Come back and play, yeah.
So then I spent 2 years there, come back, and then go back over and start the year doing no preseason. Went to Salford Red Devils.
Yeah,
it was okay, and then I thought I was done. Then come home. And then that's when Sheensy asked me to go over to Hull KR.
Righto.
Spent the year there, played some pretty good football, agreed to go back over for 2 years. But on my flight home, I decided it was just time to stay at home. Because I was while I enjoyed being there, if I was looking at it, I could play football here at home, which I started to do in Byron. And everyone was like, well, you're giving up so much money. But for me, footy wasn't about money. No. So if I was living over there, wasn't enjoying, because the end prize was to play here, I thought I'd just might as well come over and give back to the game of rugby league and play in Byron and do some coaching and stuff. So while the Super League was good, it just wasn't for me.
Righto. Career, well, you still played last year, didn't you?
Yeah. Yeah, I finished up last year.
Finished that was your last year.
Yeah, last year. I'm still toiling with the idea if I'll play this year. I'm busy, obviously, as you know, Kevie, the podcast takes some time up. It does, Triple M, away from home. I sort of look at my values now, and me and my missus speak about it a lot, is that I make decisions on how much time it takes away from my family now, not on how it benefits my family.
Yeah.
It's time for me, not... It's not what you get out of something. It's if I have to spend so much time away, then that outweighs the. Yeah.
So your family now, you're married. I'm a maths fan, by the way.
Yeah, married Susie from maths.
How's that? That's obviously a great relationship. Now you've got a little boy.
Boy, he's 4. I've got a stepdaughter, she's 10.
Right.
And we're trying for another one at the moment. So I've got my work cut out.
You'll be fine, mate. You'll be fine. And your personal growth post your career has been amazing. Like you're off the alcohol now. You just, even looking at you, look like a healthy, young 38. You know, like.
Well, Susie keeps me young because she injects shit all in me, so I'll give her some credit there.
I better go down and see you, mate.
Yeah, go and see her. Yeah, there's a secret to that, but a lot of it is I obviously, family's always been a big part of me. Obviously, growing up in a really good household with mum and dad and my 2 sisters. To now have my own kids, I understand what people say when you've got someone that actually looks up to you. And I know how I was with my dad.
Yeah.
That if I can be the man my dad was to me, and if I can do that for my son and stepdaughter and my kids to come, I have to be the best version possible.
Yeah.
Obviously, through change of going to rehab and. Even like you talk about alcohol, and obviously while it was a big part of the negativity of my life, and it will never come back into my life, I see what it takes to be healthy.
Yeah.
Like, and that's not by training your backside off or things like that. It's about actually like through routine. So like I get up at a certain hour, I do
choices you
things.
Make,
Like I still enjoy everyone enjoys bad foods, but I don't indulge in things.
Yeah.
I train as much as I can, but I just try and live as healthy life as possible.
Yeah. Well, that comes through with you, mate, because you look like a picture of health this morning, you know.
And like I said, I still toy with the idea of trying to play footy, and I work at Keebra Park.
You're doing some work at the Titans too, aren't you?
Doing some work at the Titans, and the way I coach, I try and do it. So like if I'm not I don't direct you by talking. I try and jump up, and if I'm talking about jumping down a short side or squaring up ALB, I try and get the ball and do it myself. So if I need to be in shape to do that, and I always sit there even at Keebra last year, it was the best, not the best circumstances, but one of our young halves was away. He
so you jumped in?
Yeah, he goes, "You reckon you can run at half?"
Oh, wow.
Mate, it was the best.
You would have had a field day, mate. I
love it. And it's good because, like, they're things that I like to be able to do.
Yeah. Well, as a young coach, I can tell you in the I'm talking about you being a young coach, in the book to be a level coach, which is level 1, 2, 3, they all talk about demonstrating the skill. That's part of the teaching, you know, and part of the learning for those that you're coaching. And I reckon you jumping in there, those kids would have learnt so much just from seeing you do it more so than talking about it.
Yeah, because the visual cues and stuff. And when I say visual cues, Kevie, is the visual cues of where you look, how you hold the ball and stuff. Like if you just talk out of it, and people that can read a really good textbook and articulate a textbook are good at it. But if I can show them and let them get a visual of it, it actually they can then sort of do what I say and what I do.
Yeah. So coaching, is that you want to long term? Do you think you like an assistant's role somewhere? Or?
I'd love an assistant role, Kevie.
Yeah, I'm just going to write your name down, mate. I'll be back coaching before we know it, so I'll put you down, mate.
Make sure you do. I reckon that's where I'd be best suited.
Yeah.
As a head coach, it would be like I said. We speak about time away from family to do something.
Yeah.
As a head coach, it wouldn't sit with me with where I'm at my life now.
No.
But I'd love to be in a system. Like I said, I'm at the Titans doing their pathway stuff.
Yep.
I'd love to be in around the main team because one I know is what it is to make it.
Yeah.
But also what challenges they'll face. Oh. But then also my love of the game and the way I watch the game, I think I'd be a good addition to their attack. I'd love to do the blue shirt and just getting players up each week by watching videos, sort of the finer detail stuff that some people don't enjoy.
Yeah.
It's a goal of mine. Like I'm going through the stepping stones, and I enjoy my time at Keeper, and I'm invested there, and I enjoy that part of it. But I would like to get into my own sort of coaching, sort of development of halves.
Yep.
But also, long-term goal would be to get, but that'd have to be Queensland based because I'm not leaving Queensland.
No, that's mate. Yeah, let's do that one, mate. Perfect. Once you live here, mate, you never go back.
Yeah, that's right, and it's home for me now. My family's come to me. Susie's from Queensland. Like my sister lives here now. At one point, I'd like my older sister to come and mum to get here.
Are they all on the coast?
Mum and my elder sister are still in Goulburn.
Right.
My middle sister's here on the coast with me, with her family, husband and 3 girls.
Yeah.
It's something where I'd like to get to, Kevie. So if you do, and I know when we spoke,
I've written your name down, mate. Yeah, ready to go. Because I think, and again, not bullshitting you here, but your life experiences are very unique, and you've been in the spotlight. You've been heavily criticised. You've had fans and people just like attack you, you know. And you've come through the other side. Look at you. You're a picture of health. All that information is so handy. You're doing some work, aren't you?
So we've got me and Piercy. So
mind.
It's called I Reboot. It's called. So it's a program that we're going into schools. We're taking it into the minds. We do one-on-one stuff. We don't actually do the coaching. We've got a mindset coach and a psychologist that does all the science behind it. But me and Mitchell go into places, share our story of our highs and lows.
Yeah, because Mitch has been through.
Yeah, Mitch has been through
stuff, hasn't he?
For some stuff, and Mitch speaks really highly about self-sabotage and self-doubt, self-worth, which is crazy for someone like Mitch's stature to play over 350 games but still have self-worth and self-doubt and stuff. That's like crazy. That. So yeah, it's a program that is designed. So the word I reboot. So it's identify, refocus, engage, build, overcome, optimize, and thrive. So when we speak to schools, if I give you a school terminology, when kids' phones or computers are playing up, parents turn around and go, "Well, turn it off and reboot it." So it's the same thing. We're trying to reboot, and it's not through alcohol or drugs, or it can be anything. Just about someone if they're going through a rut.
Because he's given up the alcohol.
Yeah,
too.
so Mitch is a couple of months longer than me, which has been a massive change for him.
Yeah,
he's just gone back to France to his beautiful wife. They're having a baby at the end of the year.
Okay.
So it's been, I think, and that part of that, Kevie, for me is given my share of the story that.
Yeah.
I was 36 when I made a change, but I would like to give back to these kids and tell them that if you're struggling with something, it's about identifying it, but then being real enough to understand, okay, well, like I need to make a change because
have to do it, don't you?
Yeah, you've got to do it. It's got to come within yourself. Like I got told by some of the most respected people as players that I played with to get help, to make change, but I didn't see it. Yeah. It wasn't until later in life that I seen it. So it's the important message for us is that if we can at 36 make change for ourselves, that it's possible for people to do it, but we'd like people to do it at a younger age so that they can live
more out of their life.
Get more out of their life. Like I wouldn't change anything for the world for the life I'm living now, but if you asked me that 10 years ago, if I'd rather be back out in the main stage playing, of course 100%. I would, but I got that opportunity taken away from me.
Yeah. Well, Todd, everybody, you learn all the time. You learn things. I've learned something today, like just interviewing you. Like we sort of never crossed paths, but just talking to you today, it's been a real privilege for me because you're so not the person Todd Carney, that bad boy,
yeah.
Geez, and whatever they say, right? But I've really learned something today, not to judge people unless you actually meet them and have a good conversation with them, which we've had today, mate. And I think what you're doing, I know what you're doing now is absolutely amazing from where you've been. To get through it all, you made some poor decisions. We all get that. But you've reversed those decisions into, being a great human, being a great dad, a great husband. And at 36, you made those choices.
Yeah.
So I think that's amazing from you and just goes to show that you are a bloody good person, good fella.
Thanks, Kevie.
And you want good for people. And I think your next 10 years of your life or your next journey of your life is going to be amazing, mate.
Yeah, and that's
if you want to coach, if I get a job, I'm gonna hire you, mate.
Well, mate,
because you got.
Well, I'm going to start rooting for you to get a job because if that's the case, I'm coming for you.
I'm telling you, but you got so much to offer, and you lived a life that not many have lived. To be fair, and we've said that before, so we'll move on. But hats off to you, credit to you and your family, mate, for the position that you're in now for the next chapter in your life. It's going to be amazing for you and your family. So,
and that's all right.
Thanks for coming on too, brother.
I appreciate it.
Really good,
Thanks
mate. I didn't think I'd ever like another Blues number 6, but there you go.
Thank you. But hey, go the Blues, but Kevin.
No, Queenslander.